Ready to start your CDL journey? From your first lesson to your first professional driving job, Bumper to Bumper Easy CDL is here to help you move forward with confidence. Their easy to follow training resources help aspiring drivers prepare for the CDL permit test, understand the trucking industry, and build the knowledge needed for a successful career. Whether you're brand new to trucking, returning to the industry, or helping someone else earn their CDL, Bumper to Bumper Easy CDL makes the process easier to understand from bumper to bumper. Your new career could be closer than you think. Get started with Bumper to Bumper Easy CDL today. A proud sponsor of That's Delivered podcast with Trucking Ray, helping prepare the next professionals in the trucking industry. So don't just dream about being behind the wheel. Start your journey today. Welcome back to That's Delivered. I'm your host, Trucking Ray. And today we have a show where we talk about transportation, the people who keep America moving, and the issues affecting our roads, communities, and supply chain. Today we're examining those issues from behind the badge. I'm honored to welcome Police Officer Jay Mancuso. We'll discuss what inspired him to enter law enforcement, what life is really like behind the badge, and the lessons he's learned throughout his career. We'll also discuss the growing problem of freight fraud, cargo theft, and organized crime affecting the transportation industry. I want to give a special thank you to Danielle Spinelli, the host of Tell Me Everything podcast. Danielle has been doing incredible work bringing attention to freight fraud and cargo theft. If you haven't already, I highly encourage you to go check out Tell Me Everything podcast. It's incredible, informative, eye opening, and a must listen for everyone in and around the transportation industry. I'm honored to collaborate with Danielle and Officer Mancuso on this important conversation. Together, we'll explore how truck drivers and law enforcement can work together to protect drivers, protect freight, and protect our nation's supply chain. Officer Mancuso, thank you for joining us. Let's get into the conversation. Jay, how you doing today? Glad to have you
Righty,
on the
bud.
show. I'm at a remote site, and I know you're also out there and on the streets trying to make things happen. So we're so glad you're able to come on the show. Again, special thanks to Danielle Spinelli. She made all of this possible, so we really appreciate that. How's your day going so far?
It's going pretty good. As you can tell, we're roadside here, in Pennsylvania, Eastern Pennsylvania. And I'm happy to be on the show and happy to talk to you about some safety issues and things that are going on in the industry and what um, I can do to help truck drivers and just the industry see from a law enforcement perspective.
That's beautiful. And so your journey into law enforcement. Let's begin. Just a little bit personal. Give you background. What inspired you to become a police officer?
So I've been a police officer for 21 years. Um, ever from the time I was a little kid, I always idolized police. And, I had a little bit of involvement with police officers through my parents' divorce when I was little. And, the police officer was always kind to me, no matter what was going on in that situation. Most of the officers that I encountered took the time to, talk to a 3-year-old or 4-year-old, whatever age I was growing up. And, they really helped me through some tough times that I had as a kid. And it stuck with me through adolescence. And it was always just a dream of mine to become a law enforcement officer.
That's awesome. So when you first entered law enforcement, did you believe that the job, what it would be like, it's kind of matched up with what you thought it would be like?
No, not at all. As a kid, there's or a young adult, you think you're going to be out here doing a lot of different things, and the adrenaline. Anybody that's heard this has probably heard the story of it's a lot of mundane time, a lot of downtime, followed by a quick burst of adrenaline and stuff like that. But as you age in your career and you start to get older and wiser, um, life and your career take you in different paths. And I never thought, I would be a truck inspector, and I never thought I would have anything to do with commercial motor vehicle. When I first came onto the job, I didn't even know what commercial motor vehicle enforcement was. It's not a glamorous part of the job. When a lot of people come on, I talk to a lot of young adults, men and women that either want to do the job or have just come on the job, and they either want a canine dog or they want to be on SWAT. or they want to be an investigator, or they want to go federal. I never met anybody that comes on the job at 21, 22 years old. They walk in the door and they go, I want to inspect commercial motor vehicles. So,
What was your first day on the job like?
I'm sorry.
What was your first day on the job? What was that like?
A lot of a lot of nerves, you know? I mean, you come out here and, you go through the academy, 8 months, 9 months. You have an FTO program, field training program. You're with a veteran officer and, you get out there and you're excited to do the job, but immediately, the paperwork hits you. And that's another thing that nobody really thinks about coming on the job is the amount of paperwork that needs to be done. And it's becoming more and more, as time goes on. So the first day on the job was an exciting time for me, and a beginning of a learning process that's still 21 years later. I'm still learning every day out here, trying to
Yeah.
become better and trying to help people.
Was there anyone, like a mentor that, helped you in the beginning of your career?
Uh, yeah, in the beginning of my career, I had a lot of veteran officers to help me, but the one guy that really sticks out, and it wasn't in the beginning of my career, it was in the beginning of commercial motor vehicles, is you know, uh, I was sent away to commercial motor vehicle school, 3-week program. And just like when you come on the job, you don't know that much from 8 or 9 months of training. But I went away for 3 weeks about 8, 9 years ago. I came back and, not every police officer knows what commercial motor vehicles are. So you have to seek them out. Um, and there was nobody really in my department. So I stopped the truck one day and I needed some help. So I asked the county for a truck inspector local, and uh, great guy named Bo Luna was on. So I got on the phone with him, and initially, he spouted off some information that I had no clue what he was talking about, and hung up on me. Not intentionally, he just thought he was done. And called him back, and I'm like, "Wait a minute, explain this." And he explained it, a little rough, and he goes, "You want to learn?" He's like, "Be here on Thursday at 5 a.m." I said, "Okay." All right. So I needed some mentors. I show up at 4:55. I thought I was early. He wasn't there. Pulls in a lot at 4:58. He goes, "You're late. Let's go." Right. So I jump in the truck with him, or in the van. We go out to a spot, and really rough, man. Really abrasive. And I'm a grown man, and we're going through things, and I'm learning. He's teaching me a lot of knowledge, showing me the books, the rules, the regulations. And he's a big guy, muscle guy, in his mid 50s at the time. And around noon comes, and I thought, all right, well, I'm starving. I'm going to buy this guy lunch. And I go, "What do you want for lunch?" He's like, "I don't eat." He pulls out some moldy almonds from the back of the truck, and I start laughing, and he chuckles too. I go, "You don't eat, right?" And ever since then, we became friends. And that guy had so much knowledge. He's retired now. Um, but he could look at trucks in the mirror, and he could say that truck's got this, that truck's got that violation. And he is a big reason that I became the truck inspector and today. Um, he knew registrations, Porsche registrations, uh, how to work the computer system, how to look up all kinds of different things that we see out here every day. So I owe a lot of what I can do today to that guy, Bo Luna. He was a great guy. Still is. Still keep in touch with him today.
Man, that's amazing. That's great to have that,
Mhm.
and also for the community too to share that wealth of knowledge. What does the public rarely see or understand about being a police officer that you can help them with? Give a little eye opener.
So we're human beings too. I mean, we have trials and tribulations in our life. Like I spoke about, as a childhood issue. Um, both my parents were great, but uh, you know, we're out there and we have a lot of life experience, and we might know what you're going through. Um, Also, we understand that, the day that you call the police might be the worst day of your life. And we might not remember it, but it's nice when people come up to us after and say, "Hey, you helped me. You did this, you did that." So just to remember that we're human beings. We have a lot of life experience, both men and women. Um, I don't know what you've gone through. You don't know what I've gone through in my life, but just that we're there to help people. Um, Very rarely are we, there to hurt people. We don't want to ever hurt anybody. We want to always come out with a positive, um, a positive end to the situation. We wanted to de-escalate things. Um, but as far as the trucking industry goes and what I do, because I have a specialty, is I go out every single day and I am trying to take the most dangerous truck I can find off the road. And I think a lot of trucking drivers, we're a little bit of an annoyance to them. The ability to be pulled in off the road and delay their delivery or take money out of their pocket because they're going to be tied up with us for a half hour to an hour, or if they're put on an out of service, maybe longer. But my family's on the road, your family's on the road. Everybody listening has a loved one on the road. Very rarely do I meet someone that doesn't have somebody they care about in this world. So, we're out there to try and do the best we can and get dangerous trucks to be taken off the road and repaired and to educate. That's the big thing. Um, you know, I'm not here to put anybody out of work. I'm not here to stop anybody from making a living or doing their job. What I want to do is I want to educate them. I want to show them things, um, and teach them, how to be safer on the road. And also, a flip side to it is I want to learn, because the more I see, the more people I talk to, um, the more I can learn. And if I can talk to a truck driver that's going to give me some information about something I'm seeing or something I'm saying, and either point me in a different direction or have me take another perspective of what he's seeing or what she's seeing. That's great. That's great to me.
Awesome. What lessons have you learned early in your career that every new officer or enforcer should understand?
The biggest lesson I have is to just slow down, um, get there safely. And then you have time in this job. There's always going to be another call, hopefully. There's always going to be another truck. Um, but take your time and also to treat people with respect, uh, especially when you're young. You go out there, the the country or the municipality or the state or the county gives you a wide, vast authority. So you have to think about going out there and not that you're responsible for it, but when I would go out early on, I would think to myself, and I learned this in the academy from another guy that was going through um, from another state. And he's like, you're responsible for whatever 5,000, 10,000, 15,000 people in your sector, your zone. And you got to try and keep those people safe and alive and protect their property. So slow down. You're going to miss things if you're going too fast. And that's just within the general realm of the call. Um, that's not about driving. You always slow down when you're driving too, but slow down, take your time, and use your senses. Listen, see things, observe things, and start to hone your skill on how to become a better investigator, a better compassionate human being to help everybody you come in contact with.
Man, that sounds familiar to truck driving. I know it's not on the same degree, but we need to slow down, check the things that we need to check, make sure we're doing all of those things that we were trained to do. The load's not gonna get there. It's people are gonna be okay with waiting. If you want to get things done properly. They're going to respect that you're doing a great job as a truck driver instead of just getting there fast. And then everybody's like, what happened? Why, or you waste more time because, like you said, you run across someone that, um, like yourself, that says, hey, it's time to slow down. You got to check your load. You got to check your equipment. So I'm so glad that we have law enforcement out there to help keep the roads safe because, like you said, our families are out there. What can a person do to help, when they come encounter with law enforcement to stay calm, respectful, and safe? What can they do that try to keep in their minds that as, hey, this is for the better of the community?
Um, the biggest thing I see is and it's two different realms. When I was in patrol, you're dealing with people that are living their normal daily life. They might not be at work. They might be going through some bad times. I'm not to say that truck drivers aren't going through bad times, but most of the people that we encounter are going to be people that are at work. So you're already at work. You're trying to make a living, and we understand that those things are stressful. But the biggest thing for me is right off the gate. How you interact with me. I mean, I try and start every interaction with the truck driver to be respectful and be like, hey, look, DOT stop. I know you're going to be tied up for a little bit with me, but you know, we're both going to walk away better people for it. And the biggest thing that I see is that right away, some truck drivers are just naturally irritated. They scream out things, I just got stopped yesterday, or there's nothing wrong with the truck, or you're just out here to make money, or it's going to be a bad day. Most of the time, it's people that already know that they have an issue with the truck. Um, but you know, I can already see 2 or 3 violations, when they're coming off the side of the road, most likely because that's the reason I waved them in. And, I tell them all, just look, be honest with me. The one thing that I can't stand is when someone lies to me. If I ask them if there's anything wrong with the truck, did you do your pre-trip? And they go, yep, yes, 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 yes. And then I go, okay, show me your fire extinguisher. And there's no fire extinguisher on the truck. Is it a major issue? No, but that sets the tone for the entire interaction, the entire stop. And as I'm going through my inspection, I mean, I know what I'm doing. Um, we all know what we're doing out here on the side of the road. We're seeing thousands of trucks every year, and we're going to be able to pick up the violation. It also helps me out if the truck driver just says, "Hey, look, it's reasonable and it's a human nature to be like, I used my fire extinguisher last week and I haven't got another one," or you know, um, I didn't do my pre-trip. We can all get over that. There's no major penalty that we're gonna inflict on you. Honesty is the best bet, and that's what I find. Um, if you're respectful to me and I'm respectful to you, um, it's part of your job. It's part of my job, and we need to get through it together. Now, if it goes south and there's a disagreement, then that's going to take more time, and that's not going to be good for either one of us.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Setting that tone. Like I said, that fire extinguisher, that's the first thing you see when you open up the door. Should be right there by the seat, but sometimes some trucks are a little different. But yeah, knowing that you have it and being able to point it out is huge. So when we look at freight fraud and cargo theft, we pull all this together because this is kind of new for some people, but it's been happening for years. But it's also increased. Let's turn our attention to something that directly affects trucking and nation's supply chain when people are looking to get their stuff and then it's not there. It's gone. From law enforcement perspective, how serious is cargo theft as a problem today?
Uh, it's a great problem. Because there's a multitude of things that are occurring, as our world and our country change, and trying to stop it is a monumental task. There's a few things that can be done, but if you're not doing your end as a carrier, or you're not educated, or like I say, prevention and preparedness. If I came on here today and I wasn't prepared, um, it wouldn't go so well. Same thing if you're in any industry. But if you're in the trucking industry, or you're in the shipping industry, or you're a broker, there's some things that you really need to do, because you can't allow an unknown to take your cargo, and then when it disappears on you, um, call 911 and expect the police just to be able to get it back. Um, you have to get a specialized officer. You got to get into the right sector of law enforcement, and you have to be able to provide us with some type of information that's going to help us. So, as a perspective out here, an early notification is key too. So the earlier you can notify us that there is a potential theft, or your cargo's missing, the better it is, because obviously everybody knows, if a truck leaves 6 hours ago, and you don't know what direction it went in, or you think it should have went in this direction, it's a lot harder for us to track down, especially if you have limited information on the driver, on the truck, uh, identification, registration plates, and so forth and so on. So, um, one of the big things that for me is, being able to get that information and being able to contact other members of my team, other jurisdictions, other states, and go, hey, let's connect the dots here. Let's see if we can pull in some other resources, whether they're law enforcement or private sector, and work together and see what our patterns are in order to try and find this cargo for this shipper. And the prices get passed along to the consumer. or it's built into the product, about how much this company is going to lose annually or monthly. So, really important for these shippers to get some vital information from who's picking up the cargo, where it's going, when it's anticipated to be there, um, and so forth.
Nice. So yeah, when people hear cargo theft, they picture someone breaking in the back of the trailer, but freight crime can it can also involve stolen identities, fake carriers, fraudulent pickups, double brokering, fictitious paperwork, and criminals pretend to be legitimate businesses that they really aren't. So, what type of schemes are law enforcement agencies currently seeing that's being used more prominent?
So, I mean, not only with cargo theft. I mean, like I said, every stop that I do starts with safety first, but then we can go down a different road of an interdiction stop for narcotics, human trafficking, chameleon carriers, cargo theft. Um, so it's very, very hard for me roadside to stop a truck and to identify cargo theft. Um, a little bit easier for narcotics, maybe a little bit easier for human trafficking, and we're running across all these things, but cargo theft, I like to break it down into two types, and I know there could be multiple types, but there's the one where maybe the driver or the fraudulent carrier has gotten through to a broker or been able to manipulate picking up the cargo, and then they leave the distribution center and they just disappear with the cargo. That's the first type, which is more preventable and easier. I don't want to use the word easier, but uh, better to be investigated by law enforcement. And the second type is the the type where the um the carrier is legitimate, the truck driver is legitimate, but he's got a over the road haul and he needs to park his truck. And someone is either following that person, and when they go in to take a shower, they go in for a meal, or they don't park in the right location, or there's no cameras. They're able to either steal the entire trailer, or they're able to open the back of the trailer and take it. That is a little bit more difficult for us to investigate, at least in my perspective. Uh, but the first part, when carriers are coming, there's a lot of things that the shipper can do. It's your product, or it's if it's a holdover warehouse. Identify that driver. Work with the broker. The broker is going to facilitate that carrier to come. Ask the broker, hey, what driver's showing up here? If the broker doesn't know who the driver is, then they don't have a good relationship with that carrier. Maybe it's the first time, but it doesn't take much for them to identify the driver. So right away, if the correct driver shows up. And if a driver shows up and say, "Hey, this guy was sick," you can always call back to the broker. You can verify and back track it through there, and that's part of slowing down. I understand that time is money, but if the right driver doesn't show up to your facility, you have a problem. The driver shows up, take a picture of their driver's license, um, front and back. Take a picture of the truck, take a picture of the DOT markings. Do you have ghost lettering? Ghost lettering is a big thing for me. Do you have old tape where they're continually peeling off DOT markings and putting new DOT lettering up there? That could be a telltale sign. It is for me. And I want to preface it with, not everybody that has this is a bad person. Not everybody that has this is a bad company or a bad carrier. But when you have a carrier that shows up with the same lettering or things like that is permanently affixed to the truck, they're not changing out their DOT number daily or weekly. Um, and take a picture of the license plates. If there's a temp registration, we're experiencing a large volume of fraudulent temporary registrations. There's also apps out there that you can scan these registration barcodes, and it's free to the public. So these are the type of things that can get relayed on to law enforcement if your cargo does go missing. Also, ask the driver. They should know where your cargo is going, and you should know where it's going as well. If you know that it's only 6 hours away, you could potentially ask that driver how much drive time. When's he anticipate on getting there? So that'll prevent maybe him sitting overnight or taking a rest break um, to get your cargo there safely. Little things like that, and document everything. And then it goes into the prevention aspect of it. As law enforcement, I can't make a shipper train their employees any better. But if you have a dock manager, you have two or three managers, or um, people that are going to be there loading these trailers up. And they're the people that might be the ones taking in this information from the different truckers or trucks that arrive at your facility. Document these things. It only takes about 5 minutes. And if things aren't right, then, don't accuse anybody, but slow down and go, okay, hey, we're going to call this broker back. We're going to do a little bit of investigation. Or if you have one of those apps that can scan that barcode, see if it comes back to the information on there, especially for these temporary registrations. I know temporary registrations are a part of the industry. People were buying trucks and they want to work, but is it a portion? Is it the right VIN that comes back? Um, if the truck driver will allow you to take a VIN or a sticker of the VIN plate on the door. The more information you can give us, there's ways without discussing it that we can find this truck, we can locate this truck and see. And then there's also different things, different abilities that carriers have to potentially use companies that will track these loads, whether it's GPS or imaging that can notify the carrier, and the carrier then can notify law enforcement and say, hey, look, your cargo is off route. Now, whether that is an intentional thing by the driver, or the driver received a call from a fraudulent broker or somebody that said, hey, we want to now change the destination of this cargo. Also, another thing you can do is if you have a good working relationship and the first 10 minutes have gone well with that driver coming into your facility, um, ask them. You're like, hey, do you have this is the shipping paperwork. This cargo is going from our facility to this city. Under no circumstances will this cargo ever be routed. Just that simple conversation and explaining that to that driver, and explaining what to do. Hey, look, if somebody calls you and says we want to change the destination of this cargo, call this number. I'll have my phone up. It's a dock manager, it's the 3 to 11 manager, the midnight manager, whoever it is. That could save you, hundreds of thousands of dollars just to explain that to the driver. That's a big thing in the industry where we realize that, there's a lot of fraud preying on innocent truck drivers and telling them to change the destination of the cargo. And that's something that shippers might not even know, or they do know, but they don't take the time and they don't prepare or prevent and explain that to the driver. We will not change the destination of this cargo. I know I rambled on there for about 10 minutes.
No, I like that. That's great information. I love the communication part because a lot of times people feel like, "Alright, I just gotta get this guy going. I don't wanna" or girl, "Hey, I wanna waste their time." So, but that time is valuable. One sentence can save a ton of money. I mean, where do you see these crimes most commonly happen? Are truck stops? Is that something that is a problem area, or unsecured parking areas, drop lots, warehouses?
So
What do you see out there?
the most of the information that we're getting is from you know, the cargo's going missing from being picked up and taken to the wrong locations. However, a couple miles from here, we had over the 4th of July weekend, a lot of trucks that were parked there overnight. It was supposed to be a secure facility, and they were, I believe, 33 trailers were entered, and cargo was taken. So that's another thing. I understand, everybody might be different in what they're shipping. So you might have a mom and pop distribution center, or you might have a global distribution center. But know where your cargo is going. If that cargo is supposed to go here, and you can get it out a day earlier, and that driver is going to be capable of getting it there before the holiday weekend, um, that's beneficial than letting it sit in a lot overnight or 2 or 3 nights. Important things, a little bit of preparation. And I know it's not always possible. Um, but when I spoke to the shipper that owned the product, he told me on Monday morning after the 4th of July weekend, he was prepared to come in and know that he lost cargo. And that's a sad state in our industry where, these shippers are automatically preparing to lose things, especially over a holiday weekend. So that's something that that you might know as a shipper, but are you sharing this information? Are you giving clear and concise directions to these people that are brokered these individuals that are coming in with trucks and telling them what you want. I mean, ultimately, I believe you're the customer. So, have a conversation and be like, this is what we want. This is what we expect. And then ask that driver if it's possible. Is this possible? Do you have enough drive hours? What are your intentions? Are you going to leave this overnight? Now, I understand if you're going East Coast to West Coast, or you're going on a 2 or 3 day trip, that cargo is going to be left, um, in certain lots. But when I attend conferences and at different training or learning seminars, it's interesting to see how the shippers and the brokers and the carriers work together. And it was funny because I went to one and I just assumed that cargo theft was unilateral across the board. And when I talked to one of the shippers or the that was working in conjunction with the broker, and not going to say what industry it was, but they laughed at me when I said, "Well, how many do you lose a year?" And they go, "We never lost a load." So it's a lot of prevention and preparation that had gone in through that individual business sector. Um, so it can be done. Is there always going to be cargo theft there? Sure. But it can be done if you take a little bit of time. And it's all about percentages. Are you increasing your percentages of losing cargo if you're not doing X, Y, and Z? And I would say, sure, yes, absolutely. And then if it does happen, the ability to transfer that information quickly and concisely to law enforcement, and to have contacts within the law enforcement in the local area, whether it's a county sheriff's department, your municipality, or your state police. Again, if you lose cargo and you call the non-emergency number or 911, you're going to get a young patrol officer or a patrol officer that might not know, just like I was when I came on the job, and they're going to take a report and it might not get to the right people. But being able to have clear and concise communication with the people that are, specialized in this area. And it leads back to the commercial motor safety division within the state of Pennsylvania or whatever state you're in. They will do safety presentations for the safety aspect of it. But you can gain a contact within the organization, and you can really get a perspective on top of what you're listening to now, and say, hey, what should I do? You're talking to a trucking law enforcement officer that deals with trucks every day when they do these safety presentations, and say, hey, if this happens or this has happened, how do I prevent that in the future? We might not have all the answers, but we can certainly point in the right direction and point out things from our own life experience and our own job that will point you in the right direction.
Hey, thank you so much, Jay. Again, we have Jay Mancuso here. He's helping us out. I mean, that's amazing. We really appreciate you sharing this information, helping a lot of companies prevent fraud or to stay safe on the road for our communities as well. So, how quickly can freight be moved, divided, resold, transported to another location? What have you seen on a time scale?
So I mean, it depends on where it's going, but Ray, you're a truck driver. I mean, you know how fast you can move, and and most of the people that are listening to this know how fast they can move cargo. Whether they're bending the rules a little bit, and they're going over their hours, but hey, only as fast as your wheels are going to take you. And if you're getting into an isolated location where this is a criminal organization, they're really quick, and a lot of times that cargo can disappear overnight. Not to be cliche, but it can really be moved, separated, distributed um, very quickly. I don't want to put a time period on it, but as soon as that cargo leaves your yard, I mean, let's face facts. If they go 5 minutes down the road and they got a warehouse and you're not tracking it, and they can offload it. So
So, what should a driver do if the paperwork, trailer number, the seal number, the company name, contact information, it doesn't match? I know some of these larger carriers, like the one I work with, we have paperwork that comes with the trailer. So it's important, even though there's a lot of electronic stuff out there. How important is paperwork?
from a law enforcement aspect, it's extremely important. I mean, roadside, when I ask for your shipping papers or things don't make sense, that's when it clicks over for me into an interdiction stop. And there's things my team, like to call anomalies, and everybody has them. So, when we go to trainings, there's certain things we look for. And there might be 30 things, 40 things, 50 things that are all checklist. And sure, if one person has one thing wrong or two things wrong, it's just an anomaly. But when you start to get into 7, 8, 9 red flag indicators or anomalies roadside on a stop, that's when it clicks over for me, whether it's narcotics, human trafficking, cargo theft. And I start to look at ELDs and I start to compare the paperwork, and just nothing's making sense. When I see a driver that's, let's just say I had one a little while ago that was, I'll use, for lack of a better term, I'll use the word meandering. It took him 3 days to get from Florida up to where I was, and he had zigzagged a little bit, but wasn't picking up cargo or dropping cargo off. That's an anomaly. It's a huge red flag for me. So if there's no paperwork or no paperwork's presented, that's an issue for me. I can't properly do my job. We can't properly do our job roadside. So, um, you know, the ability to put on the shipping papers a phone number where we're going to get a live person. A lot of times I'll call if these red flags are popping off. I will call this person. Um, Through law enforcement or investigative skills, I'll be able to determine that I'm talking to a real person from that facility, and I can quickly put these things to bed and say, okay, um, this looks suspicious to me, and they can explain to me, no, 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 this is correct, this is correct, or I'm getting a shipper, um, and they're telling me that that's not right, or this shouldn't be there, and that's where I can go into the ability of, okay, well, let's broaden this into a bigger investigation. So paperwork is tremendous. Even paperwork within your cargo. If I'm going to open up the back of the container, and then the ability for an officer roadside to get somebody that knows what they're speaking of, that can have access to a computer and say, "Yep, this product number, this shipment number matches this. This is where it's supposed to be." So absolutely, that's one of the biggest things roadside that I need is correct paperwork, and the ability to speak to somebody.
Man, that's awesome. What about you want to help the dispatchers? You want to help the carriers also to watch for any red flags when they release a load? I know you mentioned like the shippers. What about the dispatchers that are remotely? What are some things that you think will help make the process a little better?
I mean, when you're talking about dispatching the carriers to the shipping area, or
Like a
um,
broker,
well, I mean, the brokers obviously, you're facilitating. You're the brokerage firm. You're facilitating the carriers who can't do this on their own to the shippers and where they are logistically. Um, but as far as a broker goes, I'm not in that industry, but I can tell you that there's got to be a little bit of information you need to obtain from these people, especially if it's the first time you're dealing with it. If it's the first time you're dealing with a particular DOT number, or you're dealing with a particular driver, or a new company, a new entrant, have the right information so that way you can protect your brokerage firm and be like, look, we obtained this information. So let's just say the cargo does disappear. You don't want the shipper or the law enforcement to call you and be like, well, how long you been working with this broker? It's the first time. What information do you have? Um, Very limited information. You want to take down the same information. Hey, what driver is going to be showing up at this facility? If you can, legally, and if you can within your parameters, um, know the truck that's supposed to be showing up at the facility. Just do your due diligence. That's the best I can say. And again, time is money, but hey, if you have somebody that contacts you and you've done a little bit of training with your dispatchers, or managers can step in and go, this doesn't seem right. This doesn't seem copacetic for the other things that the other truckers or carriers that we deal with. And again, is it an anomaly? Everything you do to investigate to protect your home or to protect your life and protect your business, do the same things. And it doesn't mean that just because they have one or two anomalies in this situation or the instance mean that they're a bad carrier or a bad truck driver. It just means that you need to slow down a minute and verify certain information, and then the red flags will continue or the red flags will be alleviated, and you can say, okay, things seem to be legitimate. This person clearly explained why this is this way. um, and if everybody just does their job, I think that cargo theft and particular problems within the industry can greatly be reduced.
I love it. Thank you. Really appreciate that. And also too, want to squeeze in one more thing before we go, but we kind of work together on a lot of things like trafficking, human trafficking, truckers against trafficking. They've done a huge, tremendous work with helping prevent a lot of these crimes, and when they are happening, to get people safe by reporting it and suspicious activity. And we see a lot out there on the road. We're eyes out there. We could be guardians of the road when we're just doing our job, just keeping our eyes open. What have you noticed that people can kind of keep track of, especially truck drivers, for parking lots, people, loading areas, unusual behavior, and all times of the day? You know, because we're out there at night, and so what tips can you say to help out with human trafficking?
The one thing I could say is, for me, and this is my personal opinion, but and you're a truck driver. I don't know if a young child should ever be um, in a truck. Now, I'm not saying that's illegal, but I know that and I get it. There might be a truck driver out there on a summer that's taking their kid cross country or whatever. But seeing children, especially if something just doesn't make sense, you know, everybody has the little spidey senses that go up, and when you see something that your gut's telling you isn't right, it never hurts to call. It never hurts to let law enforcement know, and just make a phone call. Um, you see it in our subways, you see it in our trains, and report suspicious activity. It goes the same for the trucking industry. If you're seeing something that's not right, or and you can't prove it, don't ever think that you're bothering law enforcement. Ultimately, we're here for everybody, and we're here for the trucking industry as well. And if it turns out to be nothing, and we go out and investigate something, and within 2 or 3 minutes they can explain it, then it's explained, and you can feel better about, potentially stopping something. But if you don't call and it is something suspicious, and it's something nefarious, that could be a big problem, and that's all I can say is that, kids and being able to just trust law enforcement, make a phone call, um, and have it investigated.
Yeah, yeah, I like that. The trust is huge. It's something that's we can't really see, but it's out there. We need it. We as humans we thrive on it. So a lot of those things that we take for granted, and young ones,
Right.
talking about children, they're trying to understand what trust is. So we got to show it. We got to display that, and the relationship that we have with each other is so important. Being
Absolutely.
a professional truck driver. Taking care of the community is definitely a part of the job as well. We want to make sure that we're keeping everybody safe. I mean, so yeah, there's a lot of things that we want to stay safe out there on the road. So what's some things that what's the main thing when they see a truck go by or passing it that they should look for to say, hey, this the police officer can use that information.
Yeah, I mean, the registration plates are the number one thing. Then color, identification on on the trailer, on the truck. Maybe some bumper stickers, maybe some advertisements. You see certain trucks that might be a one person truck, and they have a sports team logo, or they have patriotic decals on there. Just anything we can use to quickly distribute that information to our patrol officers, and say, hey, be on the lookout for this. I know the highway system is vast, but one little thing, and especially the time. When did it pass you? Notate the time, because if it takes 12 minutes to get this information out, or it takes 2 minutes, that's a big difference. 12 minutes or 2 minutes. How far they can get, or 2 hours. Um, so just write down everything you possibly can, and make a mental note of it, and say, hey, look, this is what was going on. This is what I think is suspicious about it. Things didn't seem right, and this is the truck. This is a description of the driver. This is a description of the passenger. Um, and this is the description of the truck, and this is the plate. And that the more information, the better. And let law enforcement determine how they're going to use that information to locate the truck. It could be the smallest detail, um, that can help us be able to locate that truck, and put the issue to bed.
Man, thank you so much. Uh, just before we go to what can we do to strengthen the bond that we have? as professionals with law enforcement, with the community, with shippers? What do you think will help bring individuals together more so that we can continue to build a stronger community? I don't know if podcasting can have something to do with that. I love that you're on here and giving us your time. I know it's so important. You're busy. What can people do to say, "Hey, we want to strengthen this instead of diluting it and making it weaker," and then it's not helping anybody?
The biggest thing for me is just you have to care. Every individual has to care. And you got to go out there and say, okay, you know what? I'm going to care enough to make this a little bit better. So if I came out here for 8 hours a day or 12-hour shift and I didn't care, what am I doing for my community? And it goes on both ways. Truck drivers, the brokers, the shippers, the truck drivers especially, like wear your seatbelt, little things. If you can't do the little things right, do your pre-trip. If you can't do those little things right, that sends up a little thing for me and goes, okay, well, what else is going on here? Um, you know, do the things, the little things, and prevent safety issues out there on the road. And that goes a long way because I can immediately tell when a truck driver pulls in and they're squared away. And they start off with, "Yep, yes, sir, I did my pre-trip. I did this. I noticed this. I noticed that. I'm getting this repaired. I got an appointment for this." And that shows me that they care. So right there, that sets the tone. And caring about your truck and caring about your job and caring about the people on the road is paramount. And it's the same thing for law enforcement, And the more people that care, uh, hopefully overwhelm the bad in the industry, and we prevent some tragedies out there. And you'll never know what tragedies you prevent by just doing those little things. But if you don't do them and a tragedy happens, um, that's horrible. So yeah, just care. I mean, be respectful and care, and take care of your stuff. If it's part of your job, do it to the best of your abilities.
That's beautiful. Thank you so much, Jason Mancuso. Thank you for helping us. I mean, just this podcast alone, it shows that you care, that you want to bring awareness, and also that communication is key. Any last words you want to give for being on the show? We'll give you the floor again, man. Hey, what do you think will be the final thing to send off to people and say, hey, or is just a thank you? What would you like to say?
Yeah, just a thank you because again, this industry doesn't have a lot of ability to reach out to law enforcement and that access. And on the other hand, law enforcement doesn't know a lot about the industry. So I want to continue to build a bridge. I hope that the people listening to this podcast took some good information and they do the prevention and preparedness and reach out to your local law enforcement. Whether it's a small community in the Midwest or it's a large city, reach out, make a couple phone calls, prepare for it, and say, "Hey, can I talk to a you have any trucking officers? Do you have any DOT inspectors? Any mix-app officers that I might be able to get their email address for? Shoot off a quick email and say, "Hey, I want to establish a working relationship because I care, and I'm trying to do the right thing for my business or the broker or the truck driver, and build that bridge." And the prevention there is huge. So I hope that some people learn some valuable information here, and some bridges are built, and we'll never know. But hopefully it happens. And I just want to thank you for your time and everything you do.
Awesome. Thank you. Yeah, building a network I think is huge. I mean, it's been great for me. I love doing podcasting. I love talking to people. I love hearing their stories. So if the trucking community, if law enforcement, or even if a business owner can strengthen their network, pre-trip the business, pre-trip the profession, right? Talk to each other, build that relationship. I know we're busy, but just taking that few minutes, like you said, just to say, "Hey, I'm here. I want to help. I want to be a part of the better solution." I think it's going to be key. I think we can get stronger, and then these bad players will say, "Hey, I don't want to be around this," because these guys know each other, and I think that's going to be huge. So that's good. Thank you. Great advice. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you, Ray.
Yeah. So in closing, this has been an important conversation because protecting supply chain isn't the responsibility of only one person or a company or agency. It takes everyone. It takes communication. It takes awareness, and it requires cooperation between law enforcement, truck drivers, carriers, brokers, shippers, receivers, and to communication is where we help our communities, our families, our young ones. So drivers, if someone something doesn't look right, doesn't feel right, trust your instincts. But don't just think about it. Go ahead and make the call. Put all this information out there for other people to help you and get to a safe location. Pay attention to these details. Contact proper authorities, and report the situation as quickly as possible. And I want to thank you, our guest, Jay Mancuso, for their services. Thank you so much for what you do for us each and every day. You guys carry a heavy load. You may not have a trailer that you're pulling, but you're pulling so much for our communities, and we thank you. We really do, sincerely.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. So, for everyone that's listening, if you like the show, and if you like That's Delivered podcast, or if you have questions or comments, we'd love to hear from you. Make sure you subscribe to the show and leave us a review and share this episode with anyone that is in the transportation industry. I don't claim to know it all. I just want to learn about it all. And remember, don't stress. Just do your best. And that's delivered.